Hello and welcome to this new video. This time we are going to do a light beam effect like this one. Let's get started. Let's make a cylinder by pressing Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. I'm going to change the vertices of the cylinder to 12 and I also need to change the origin. So let's press Tab to go to Edit Mode, 3 for face selection, and press Shift S and select Cursor to Selected. Tap to go back to Object Mode, right click, set Origin to 3D Cursor. Shift S again and select Cursor toward Origin, and finally press Alt G to clear the cylinder location. Next, go to View, Area, Vertical Split, and change the editor type to Shader Editor. In here, we need to create a new material, add a name, and delete the principal BSDF. Now, we are going to start building this material with an emission node. So let's press Shift A, S, and type emission. I'm going to change the color to a blue one and connect this node to the volume output. Next, let's add a math node. Press Shift A plus S, math, and connect the value to the strength. Change the second value to 2.3 and the operation to multiply. Select and copy the math node with Shift D and connect the value to the first multiply. Now we need to add a color ramp to control the emission transparency a little bit. Connect the color to the multiply's first value and move the black and white close to the center. I'm going to change the black one a bit. Press Shift 8S again to add a noise texture. And connect the noise fact to the color ramp fact. Change the scale and detail to 10 and the roughness to 0.6. To end this small part, we need an RGB curve. Connect that one to the multiply's second value and invert the RGB curve. Now change to cycle render and see what we have so far. Okay, we now need to change the noise for a beam effect. Let's start by adding a point light by pressing Shift A, Light, Point, and change the settings, power to 0.2 and radius to 0.1. Move the light in seed a little bit. Select the cylinder again to continue. To make a beam effect, we need to start by adding a texture coordinate. We're going to put this one all the way far from the noise. After that, we need to create a separate XYZ node to separate the texture coordinates, and then connect the generate to vector. Now let's add a math node and change the operation to divide and leave it like that for a moment. Copy the math node, change it to subtract, change the first volume to 1, and connect the divide node to the second value. Copy the subtract node, Shift D, change that to multiply, connect the subtract to the second value and the separate seed to the first value. If you hold Shift, right click and drag, you could create a reroute node to organize the connections. Next, select the multiply and press Shift D to duplicate the node. Change the operation to add and connect the multiply to the first value. Take the second value and connect that all the way back to the divide value. I'm going to make a reroute, Shift, right click and drag to finish this. Now we need to copy the add node, Shift D, go back to the original and check clamp. You could support the channel to make videos more often with your subscriptions, likes, dislikes, comments, and shares. Let's move on. Change the add copy operation to divide the first value to 1 and connect the add to the second value. Connect that to the noise and see what we have right now. Go back to the separate X, Y, Z and let's start making the light rays. Copy the subtract node twice and connect the X to the first subtract and the Y to the second one. Let me show you how this is affecting the noise. Now we need to use a combine XYZ to connect everything to the noise. So press Shift 8S, combine XYZ. And connect that to the noise. If we test this and connect these two subtract, it is going to look like this, but we are going to make it better. Select this multiplied and press Shift D to make a copy. Shift D again and again to have 2 more copies. And these are going to be the X, Y, and Z. And we need this to connect them to the combine node. Select the divide node and connect that to the first multiplied node. And then, using the Shift right click and drag reroute, connect that to the second multiplied 2. Then select the first subtract, connect to the first multiply, and the second subtract to the second multiply. Now connect the multiply node to the X, Y, and Z. Go back to the separate X, Y, and Z and connect Z to the second value of the last multiply. After that, we need to change the value to 0.075 over the multiply node. Let's move all the way back to the divide node and change the values to 0.401. If you can see anything like me right now, you just need to change from render preview to solid mode and then back again. And now we have the light beams. Finally, we need to connect the separate Z to the RGB curve. I'm going to take that from here by doing the Shift right click and drag. After that, you could make some adjustments to the RGB curve until you get something that you like. If you go back to the divide, you're going to use that to change the direction of the rays depending on the shape that you make. For example, I'm going to change the cylinder to have a cone shape. And then make the adjustments to the light. And that's basically it. I hope you liked this video, and I will see you next time. Bye.